Can anybody tell me something that you got out of Charles's talk today? Come on, don't be shy. You want to give him a hug? All right, Charles, is that good? He'll come see you in a minute. So, since we're all inspired here, we have a really beautiful segment coming up. We are stepping into a golden age, into a new world, as Charles says, where our hearts know is possible. We don't quite know how to make it happen in our brain. It's really easy to get deterred when we watch things on TV. You know, when we even see ourselves caught up in old patterns that do not reflect the infinite, amazing force of divine love that we are, right? It's easy to get disillusioned a little bit. So it's a little bit challenging for us to figure out how we're going to step into the golden age. So this next talk is very important because the golden age does require all of us to step up as leaders. And I firmly believe that. This is a big vision in creating AUREA, is that this new world that we're building, it doesn't come from hierarchy. It doesn't come from the super wealthy. It definitely doesn't come from politicians. It comes from each one of us taking ownership of how to build a golden age in our everyday lives. It starts in our hearts, it follows through in our actions. So we've got a panel of some very distinguished people that I'm very honored. Like, this is an incredible moment for me to be on stage with all of these people right now. So I want you to give it up for all of them. We're going to get into some introductions in a second. You might know some of these people already. The point of this talk is to get direct transmissions on how you can step further and deeper into your leadership path, how we can create a new paradigm for the golden age that is a whole different form of leadership. We're going to learn what leadership is required for us to build this golden age, and we're going to learn it from some amazing people that have deep insights on this and who have been building this. We're going to talk about masculine, feminine dynamics of leadership, and it's going to be grand. Thank you for your presence and your attention. So I want to start this panel by asking everyone here to briefly introduce yourself and tell us what golden age leadership means to you.
Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Can we give a round of applause to all the organizers and everybody working behind the scenes here? Thank you for bringing us all together. My name is Derek Brose. I'm a journalist, activist, documentary filmmaker, a lot of other titles we could use, but I'm a human being trying to focus on solutions through whatever medium I use, and I've got some ideas to share today, but I'm just happy to be here. Thank you guys.
Yeah, Derek, can you tell us really quickly what golden age leadership means to you?
Golden age, I mean, I think that really it's just about stepping into your power, or whatever that means for each individual. I know there's going to be a lot of different opinions expressed, and there have been today, on what exactly that means, but I think each individual here listening would know better than any of us up here what a golden age means for you when you're kind of stepping into your higher self, or whatever terms you want to use. I think we all know and recognize when we're on a path that is in alignment with leadership and the higher aims that we have, and you recognize when you're not on it. So for me, golden age leadership is when your thoughts and words and actions are in alignment.
My name is Kaya Lee, and I am a medicine woman, wisdom keeper, founder of a breathwork academy called Sacred Breath Academy, also founder of a feminine mystery school, and most recently an initiator of new paradigm leadership and what it actually means to embody that in real time. I know many of you caught my talk earlier this morning on that, but to really sum what golden age leadership is to me is an opportunity to actualize the full potential of humanity and allow people to step forth into their spiritual gifts and embody them in a human way. And it's a flowering of potential, of art, of beauty, of creation, of the majesty of what's possible when we come together in heart, mind, and spirit coherence. And it's also an opportunity to unify intention and really remember our infinite creative origin. It's to detox and decondition the fear, the programming, the viruses and parasites that run through our being that tell us to live in states of fear, of contraction, of scarcity, of not enoughness, and to really stand in our infinitude and magnitude as conscious creators here to actualize a heaven on earth reality.
Woo!
Casual.
Super casual. Nice act to follow. My name is Noor Kallam, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you dearly for having me here. I am the co-founder of an organization called Unified We Stand. I work in the corporate world with Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies, training their executive suite. So I'm a leadership trainer and consultant for growth and to help their businesses scale up. I also bring spirituality into the corporate world. That's my day job. In the Miami community, some of you may have come to my women's circles or the work that I do on the masculine and feminine. I do a lot of work around the masculine and feminine. What is leadership in the golden age? If I summarized it, it's everything both of them have already said, and it's been explained, I think, exceptionally well already. It's for you to know who you are. It's for you to be you as you, grounded, rooted, connected to source, magnified into the greatness and excellence of what you are, and supporting everybody else to do it. This is no longer just about me or I or the one by itself, a individual by themselves. It is about all of us, and it is about, in Unified We Stand, we have a saying, it's no longer us versus them, it's us for we and we for us. And it's really cultivating this us and this we, but first from knowing who you are and rooting who you are in order to be together in unity, in community, in the excellence and divinity that we are. So that's what I think leadership is in the golden age.
Very good. So interesting how we can be so different. Such different views of what that question. Yeah, my name is Stephen Brooks, and I grew up right here in Miami, and I've been down in Costa Rica for the past 28 years. I am an ethnobotanist, first and foremost, which is the study of the relationship between humans and plants. And I'm obsessed with plants. As I was backstage, I was just like stalking my plant crush. His name is Joe Hewitt. He's in Hawaii, and he just has me blown away, even the things I just saw. But I'd say more than anything, I've just really been learning to listen to plants and remembering that language and really trying to translate that into the human experience. And I've been avidly collecting useful plants, and I just feel like what the message that I've just been receiving is how can we merge where we live with the plants we use. It doesn't have to be so separate where we live over there and the plants come from over here and the food, and we can merge that. And so yeah, that's what I feel really passionate about, and I've been doing a lot of interesting work in Costa Rica, which I'll talk about at 6:45, I believe. And yeah, leadership in the golden age. I know it might just sound cliche, but it's like really just listening to the plants and stop trying to force things and stop trying to think that we're in control and in charge, because we are far from that. And yeah, I just want to remind everybody to just listen, tune in to their beautiful message.
I won't introduce myself again, but Charles Eisenstein. And just to pick up on what Stephen was saying, about not needing to be in charge, and what does leadership look like then? And I would say maybe it is to direct the vision of others towards something that you have seen that wants to be born in this world, and then to create opportunities for others to give their gifts toward the birth of that possibility.
Thank you, everyone, for those great answers and introductions. We have an illustrious panel, very diverse, and I'm very excited to dive in here. We're going to talk about a lot of qualities of leadership. But first, I want to really cement in a question in a short answer. What is this golden age that we're building to you? First, what are we striving for? And then let's talk about the leadership qualities it'll take to bring this vision forth.
So for me, what a golden age would look like would probably be closer to what Charles was just saying, with no one in charge. I'm the resident anarchist on the panel. Any other anarchists in this room? Yeah, so I like to give as much power to the people as possible and remove obstacles, whatever those may be. Again, like, I don't think any of us know what it's going to be like for other people. And I think maybe that's kind of the problem, is us trying to tell other people what 2030 or whatever the future is going to look like, instead of empowering people to create the world that they want and seeing how we can co-create that together and see, you know, how our visions might meld or even oppose each other, and what that world could look like. I think so much of the problems we have right now are because of people who think they can centrally plan society and centrally plan the future of humanity, like people are trying to do right now. So for me, I can't really tell you what it would look like. I know what the intentional community that I'm building will look like and what those principles are like, but that might not be what aligns with some of your visions, right? So to me, that golden age, that future world that I'm ascribing to, is a plurality of all kinds of different ways of organizing and ways of living, and trying to find harmony within that. And it's a struggle, but I think it's probably the most important thing that we can do, instead of trying to force our ideas on other people. I think there was a second question, or was that it?
That's it right now.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Derek. The question is, what does the golden age that we need leadership to build into look like? Not leadership. What does the golden age look like that we're building towards? No. What does leadership look like in the golden age? Okay. This is, what does that golden age look like?
Okay, so maybe I answered it already, but I will elaborate. So what I hear when this question is asked is honoring the interconnectivity of all beings and living in more of a holistic harmony. And so some of the principles of that is living in earth reverence. The indigenous talk a lot about walking in the beauty way, or walking softly upon the earth, really honoring all life forms. And this is not something that is evident within our current trajectory. So how can we really honor and steward this planet in a way of reverence and in a way of honoring all of our biodiversity, our sensitive ecosystems, just really stewarding and protecting this planet in a way of regeneration and permaculture and biodiversity. And I see a restoration of Gaia, of Mother Earth. I see a return of feminine wisdom onto this planet. And this is something that is reviving within the hearts of all beings as we move out of the conditioning of the last 2,000 years. I see an honoring of the feminine principle, and a lot of times we think this is something that's specific only to women, but it's not. I see this as a principle that's asking to be resurrected in every single human being, and that feminine principle asks us to really steward that, like we talked about, the reverence, the harmony, the intentionality, allowing intuition and internal wisdom to lead, and really coming back into right relationship in self and in community, and honoring all beings on this planet in a completely different way. And our current leaders show very little earth reverence. And so I see, something that's akin to the rainbow prophecy where all of these different groups can come together in a shared vision for this earth. It doesn't mean that we all have to be homogenized, just like the brother here was saying, you know, everyone has a different vision or a different interpretation of what that looks like, but we can hold the overarching vision of earth reverence and planetary stewardship in a way that honors life and no longer destroys life. So I see that revival of matriarchal and feminine wisdom and revival of earth reverence and planetary stewardship.
Lovely, Kaya. Definitely the world I want to live in. Just to change something up, I'm going to have Charles answer next, and we're going to walk back to Noor.
That's for last.
Absolutely.
I think everybody has had a glimpse of the golden age is because it reaches its its threads into the present and shows us in these special places and special moments what the future could be. And in those moments, you recognize that this is not an aberration, but it's a promise. So any one of these pieces actually contains the whole thing, because for the world to accommodate this one thing and be built on it, everything has to change. So I will simply name that in the golden age, most of the time, the loudest sound that you can hear is birds playing, birds singing, and children playing.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful. Was anyone at Burning Man last week? Can I see some hands? No? Yeah. I see lots of durian and cacao. You guys are also deep and spiritual, and I'm like seeing durian. Yeah, I often think about what is the commute like to your best friend's house, or what is the journey to your kid's school like, and how can it be improved? I mean, imagine if you were, walking along creek sides and through fruit orchards and yeah, drinking water from a source that you are very familiar with, and knowing the names of the people that produce all the things you buy, their first and last name, hugging them when you exchange. Yeah, I just see niceness and love and care and reverence for this planet and for watersheds and for ecosystems and that fun is deeply embedded in the very designs of our reality.
Amazing. Stephen, I must mention that I've actually only eaten durian once, and it was quite the spiritual experience.
So the vision that I have of the golden age is very similar to everything you've already heard. I would add a few details. One is fully present humans, fully engaged in the moment, fully living in the fullness of who they are, moment by moment, breath by breath, realizing their fullest potential, giving their gifts to the world, moment by moment, living in harmony, living in unity, having unity consciousness guide the way. Our media, our systems, our homes, our families are learning the processes that we maneuver in just daily mundane life. I imagine a place where people can ask questions and not be ridiculed. People can have differing opinions, and we can have conversations where we can get to higher truths and connection. I imagine a place where we support each other. And to me, the golden age, if I summarized it into just a few words, it would be prosperity or fully realized humans that are prosperous. People would be living in integrity and in alignment to their truest selves and to source. And the notion of harmony and community and connection. I envision a golden age where connection is at the forefront of everything that we are doing, more so than profit or more so than any one individual any one individual's desires. I envision a world that is deeply connected.
So, in this golden age that we're talking about, that we're collectively dreaming and bringing and acting into reality, there's some qualities of the old paradigm of leadership that are still valuable, like organization, courage, overcoming fear, dedication, hard work, things like that, having a big picture view, compassion. What are some of the old paradigm qualities that need to evolve for us to step into the golden age?
Well, I think that for me, as far as evolving, I think that the idea from the old paradigm, as you put it, of a leader being somebody who's persistent and consistent with their craft, whatever it may be, is important and needs to stay, but maybe you can, as far as evolving, can expand to more people, right? Because everybody who's up here has probably worked hundreds and thousands of hours on whatever their craft is, finding the best plants in the world, or writing, or bringing out the sacred feminine, different things. Like, we're all here and doing the things we do because of persistence, consistency. And there's a lot of leaders in this room who could be on this stage just as easy. And there's a lot of other potential leaders in wait who are kind of, I don't know what they're waiting for, but they're waiting for somebody to push them or tell them something. And really, I think it just comes down to, like, you've got to be persistent and consistent with whatever your craft is, through the struggles, through the ups and downs. I don't think anything, achieving your goals as a leader or just as an individual, I don't know if I would call myself a leader, but a person who does things is kind of what I do. I just do things, and if people pay attention, then good. But it's been, for me, a 12-year journey of consistently applying those same principles over and over when nobody's paying attention, and still when nobody's paying attention. And then once people finally see you for your hard work, just keeping at it, like just consistently going. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be around no matter what, but we could maybe help bring some more of our brothers and sisters into that by just encouraging everybody else to push out of the way whatever's holding you back and just step into it. Like, you got that awesome project in your mind you've been dreaming about or thinking about for a while, and for whatever reason you haven't taken that step. If you don't start, and if you don't start putting consistency behind your actions and your goals, wherever you're aiming to get, you're not going to get there.
Yeah, Derek, can I ask you a quick question? Can you tell me about a time when you made a shift from an old paradigm into stepping into something that we would now call quality of a golden age leader, golden age leadership?
Sure. I think I might know what you're referring to. So it's been a cool journey for me to get to this point, to be on this stage with these awesome people. It's been 12 years of that consistent application I was just talking about. But really, my paradigm shifted 14 years ago. I was 20 years old, and I got addicted to crystal meth, and I went to prison. And prison's where I discovered meditation. Prison is where I decided to change my life, not because the prison system is a great place or anything, it's a horrible institution, but because I had come from a family of drug addicts and alcoholics and prison and all this stuff. It's something I grew up around. It was very much present in my life. And so when I found myself 20 years old, turning 21, locked up, I had to really sit down and kind of ask myself, like, what the heck am I doing? How did I get here? And also, sometimes when you're in a situation where you feel truly powerless, it's kind of what you need. And what I mean by that is, like, if you've ever been locked up, whether for a night or a couple of weeks, you're in 4 walls that you can't leave no matter what you do. You can get on the phone and cry to mom, dad, lawyer, husband, wife, etc. You can scream, you can blame everybody in the world, but you're not leaving until these people let you out. And that's a very disempowering situation to be in, but it's actually the place that I kind of tapped into my power, because I realized, like, all right, well, I'm here, I'm looking at the calendar, I'm not going home for at least a year. What am I going to do at this time? Sometimes people become better criminals while they're in those places. But I really chose to just, start. I started by journaling, really asking myself how I got into those places, and then I discovered meditation, started doing just a lot of meditation and prayer, kind of tapping into my family's indigenous roots as well over the last years, and it's just been a long journey, but it really did start with getting to that place, hitting what was my bottom, and kind of having to do something about it, right? And I don't think if I had committed in that moment to make this shift, that I would be here. You know, it really started before I got into activism or journalism or any of the stuff that we're all talking about here. It had to start with me kind of waking up spiritually first. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So I'll put the first question to the rest of the panel. What are qualities of the old paradigm of leadership that do need to change, shift, or evolve in order for the golden age to be fully realized?
Yeah, so there's a few key things that come to mind. The first is reconciling the lack of integrity, accountability, and transparency in our leadership. And naturally, that would be moving into a model of more integrity, more transparency, more accountability. There's been a lot of smoke and mirror proliferation in our leadership for a very long time, right? Presenting so let's just look to the world stage or look to a lot of the leadership of even the last century. You know, there's often the presentation, the image, the smoke and mirrors, the facade. Sometimes it's like this perfect cookie cutter kind of persona. And then behind the scenes, what's really going on? What's really happening within that person's being? How are they showing up? And so I hear that phrase again, right action. And I think it's important to reconcile the gap between who we say we are and how we're actually showing up. And we talked about this a little bit earlier in my keynote, but that means who are we being out of the spotlight, out of the limelight, off the stage, off the screen, behind closed doors, in our intimate most relationships when no one is looking. How are we showing up there and there and there and there? And so I see this need for more transparency in our leadership. How can we trust those leading if they're not actually living or walking or honoring or embodying their words? And it's also a call to deeper embodiment of our message and to reveal the full spectrum of self as a leader. One of the things I'm passionate about is revealing the full spectrum of our humanity, the full spectrum of our emotionality, not just what is pretty, not just what is pleasant or curated or perfect, but our imperfection, our trials, our struggles, our tribulations, our journeys, our initiations. How can we show where we're growing, where we're strengthening, where we're evolving, where we're becoming, and also humble ourselves to know that we are also growing alongside those who we lead. None of us are perfect. None of us have all the answers, and to reveal our humanity along the way. So again, integrity, vulnerability, transparency, responsibility. The second thing that comes to mind is moving out of that exclusively masculine template of leadership, as we've seen in maybe more of an over-polarized masculine world over the last couple thousand years, potentially driven by patriarchal energies. And so many of us have been conditioned into this Western way, something the Native Americans would call the wetiko. And this is the go-go, the do-do, the hustle, right? The perform, the achieve, the attain, the excel, the ways we've been taught to define our worth, success, and merit based on external metrics, right? How are we producing? How are we performing? What are we attaining? And really stepping out of that and coming back into what I call experientially based wisdom. It's not always about the metrics. It's about who we are being, right? Who we are being at all times. And this concept of a meritocracy, it's like our merit based on our total being, our total self. And the last piece, which kind of ties into the first piece, is reconciling the gap between what we speak our ideals as and what we are living, and really embodying our words, where our words are not coming from the mind. We're not just saying the word. Anyone can say the word, anyone can regurgitate a concept, anyone can parrot, even parrots can parrot, anyone can read a speech that someone wrote for them. But how can we actually emanate our words as a transmission, as a felt experience, as an energy that's landing within all levels of people's being, so we're actually impacting what I believe is the field of matter. So our words are a transmission to incite and inspire and ignite others on the deepest levels, not just something we're reading off of a teleprompter. So how can we speak from experientially based wisdom, and how can we speak from what we have lived through, from what we have learned through, from what we have grown through, and from what we are embodying?
Wow, thank you, Kaya. That was a lot that you identified that's wrong with the current paradigm of leadership and leaders here, especially in the United States and the West, really all over the world. Thank you. Noor, I'm very curious about your response. Since you work in corporate, you advise a lot of corporate individuals, and you are a Kundalini yoga teacher. A lot of people here in this room know that, and if you don't, she's amazing. She is a sadhana queen, which means showing up in public at 4 a.m. for 40-day stretches every day.
5 years every day in the public.
In public.
10 years alone in my home.
So you have an interesting perspective here on...
Can I mix things up a little bit?
You don't want to answer that question?
No, go ahead. No, absolutely. I'm going to answer your question, but I agree with everything that's been stated, and I have a different opinion, and I want to know if it's okay to share an opinion. Like, I love men. I love masculine energy, and I'd love to share what's actually working in the world that we live, and how that can be a springboard to actually ignite things in a really positive way. There's much that needs to change. Many of the people on the panel have already stated that, and there's a lot of beauty in masculine energy. So instead of assuming that hierarchy needs to be thrown away, there is something called synarchy, and there is something where there's a natural state of hierarchy, whether you're talking about plants, nature, corporations, families, systems, etc. Just because something doesn't work, because it's bastardized, because of the way that somebody is implementing it, doesn't mean that we throw everything out. There are certain things we've already talked about, consistency and integrity. These are general principles. They're not just masculine principles. I don't look at truth, integrity, self-leadership, knowing yourself as innately masculine. I think of those as basic foundational principles of being human. I do think that femininity, and many of you have done work with me on the feminine, it's important, and it's important for both a masculine body and a feminine body to embody and to have. But I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Loving men is a joy. It's an enjoyable experience, and especially if it's an embodied man, and a man is leading a corporation, a home. Ask any woman in this room what happens when a man shows up in full presence and full leadership. It's the sexiest thing on the face of the earth, period. And I have tried this with thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Do not kid yourself that masculine leadership, it's the time for it to go away. It's not. It's just beginning in its actually fully embodied sense. And when that happens, the world will change in a very, very, very beautiful way. And I invite every masculine man in the room to step up and lead. And I also invite every feminine embodied woman in the world, both men and women, self-lead. We don't have enough self-leadership. If I summarize it into two things, self-leadership means you own yourself, you take responsibility for your emotionality, your thoughts, your feelings, your words, your actions, everything about you. Take responsibility for yourself. When you take responsibility for yourself and you come into connection with another, romantically, have children, have families, whatever it is, you start to vibrate out a sense of presence and a sense of responsibility that moves. I'll be quiet in 2 seconds. One more statement I've done. The reason why I'm adamant about loving men and ensuring the fact we don't throw the baby out with the bad water, the patriarchy, whatever that is, I don't look at the patriarchy the way most people define it, but the negative defined essence of the patriarchy, it will fall. It's already falling. And I pray to God that fathers, that leaders, that the essence of really beautiful masculine energy, and at one point in time, I'll share with you the many stories of men who show up in my life in the greatest way humanly possible. I pray to God we exalt that and do not destroy that.
Noor. Yeah, Kaya. Well, real quick, Noor, I'm going to extend an invitation for you to let me lead you.
Yes.
Will you accept?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
because this is really great stuff that we're getting into the next segment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But first, I want us to really deconstruct what does need to change. We're not throwing the whole masculine paradigm out. We're gonna
lies, cheating, not being yourself, forcing somebody to do something that is unhealthy. So everything is a force of energy. But if I'm forcing my will on you and it's actually not healthy because I'm going to get something out of it and I'm going to manipulate you, that's a problem. All of this is incorrectly executed. Like, no one goes into leadership consciously thinking I'm going to screw somebody over, but it's happened so much for thousands and thousands of years that we've lost faith in so much. So part of it is just restoring integrity, restoring truth. I'll go there because we can talk for many hours on like what has to change. But I'll say restoring back integrity, truth, and let's just leave it at that.
Kaya, can you make a quick comment?
I just wanted to briefly amplify what she's saying, in that it's not about polarizing into masculine or feminine. It's about unifying and marrying and merging both as the union. We require both. So every single one of us requires both masculine and feminine. And we require the men and we require the women, or anything else anyone identifies with. And it's about that merging. Both are critical, and it's important to really hold and honor and embrace both.
Wonderful. Very excited about the answers from the two gentlemen on the other end here. Because as we may or may not know here, Stephen Brooks has been a part of some really experimental communities. So I'm sure he's got a lot of identification of what hasn't worked to inspire that.
Yeah, I'm so often so engaged in the physical side, like land buying and infrastructure. And I'm in such awe of the air conditioning units in this building. I mean, this is a freaking huge building. How are they keeping this entire place so cold? It's amazing. I know, it's so deep. It's so incredible. It's so big. Yeah, I think what I would say is that we just need, everyone's just so busy blaming. Is it we're blaming that guy whose name rhymed with dump, or we're blaming our government, or we're blaming Pfizer, or we're blaming Monsanto. Blame your freaking self, man. We're creating this fucked up world. Like, we're supporting these stupid companies. We're part of this game. We're running on petroleum. It's like, so I think like the kind of leadership we need is just to stop blaming and really like look inward on how can we start doing better individually and in our homes and in our families. Yeah, and just stop blaming. And then the other thing, and I'm looking at my dad right there, and he's so quick to say, he always says, Stephen, what you're good at, you're the freaking best in the world at. And when you're bad at, please stop doing it. Like, surround yourself with the people that are good at the things you're not, and don't even try. And I'm really, really bad at many things. And for a long time, I've tried to do them, and it's terrible. The other thing that I would add is everything I've always done has been, even though I'm like real loud and I speak a lot and I give talks, but I've been really under the radar, especially in Costa Rica with the government and with the Babylon, and now I'm finding, and I just, just listening to your story, Derek, like I just had this crazy thing happen a couple of weeks ago. For the first, I was like not allowed to leave Costa Rica 2 weeks ago. Like I was labeled like an environmental terrorist. I know, it's just like, it was such irony. And like, and I was like, had my flight 4 hours later to go to Burning Man, and I got a notice from my attorney that I couldn't leave the country. And it was just so humbling. And just hearing you say that, like as I sat there in my home, like my dad was already at Burning Man, and my girlfriend Andrea was already at Burning Man, and I couldn't go. I was like the little kid, just like, I'm not allowed, I got punished. It was so humbling, and it was just like, yeah, this is a really great lesson. This is a really great lesson in we can't be so separate. We can't be so separate from those powers that be. And I don't think and I don't know how other people feel about this. I don't want to trigger anything, but I don't think there's some like Montgomery Burns, sitting in some office, like trying to control and ruin the world. I really don't, and maybe I'm wrong. 2 weeks ago, I would say I thought like I was losing faith in the victory of good over evil. I really was like, wow, like I don't know if this is the banana plantations that are after me. I don't know if it's like narcos. I don't know what is going on, but there's like some big power at be like really holding me down. And yeah, in those moments where you just cannot even fathom why what's happening is happening and how it can ever be good and a lesson. It's like it is, and you just have to wait, and you just have to breathe, like I'm sure you did in that jail cell, and just deep faith and deep trust, and stop blaming. And what an air conditioning unit!
Charles, author of Sacred Economics, powerful book that has put not ripples but waves into the hearts of so many people that are inspired to go to festivals, to make big changes in their lives. What about the old paradigm of leadership really needs to go?
I don't really have an intelligent answer for that right now. Yeah, that was not a rhetorical device.
That was it. All right, moving on. A lot has been said.
Keep it real.
So